Alrighty.
So, that being said, Tiger, since you're new on the show, I know Kiris has some topics to discuss. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, okay. I'm Tiger Storm Rage. You guys can call me Storm. I've been streaming for quite some time. Primarily World of Warcraft MMOs. I've been playing PvP. It's been a big focus of my content. Um, God, that's a little sudden. I apologize. I've been playing RoR since I believe the level cap was like 20, and it's been a huge driving force in me making content and getting into the streaming space. Think it's been about 3 or 4 years now that I've been making content, and I like to take my time and sink into a game that I really enjoy.
J-
ROR has been one of those. World of Warcraft is definitely another. And I stream almost every single day if you guys want to check me out. And I appreciate the opportunity for being here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have new people on the show, and especially OGs of the community, so we can hear their thoughts and they can weigh into the discussion. Because I mean, you guys, I mean, people like yourself and Karis and others, you literally were at the forefront of the server. So, but aside from that, one of the topics I talked to you about was the news about a new MMO coming out for Warhammer.
Ah,
There's still
yes.
there is some general debate as to whether it's going to be the 40K or fantasy, even though some of the videos that they're talking about and some of the artwork that they've released thus far is heavily indicative of fantasy. So there's speculation all over the board. Don't know for sure solidly, but it is officially moving forward with, I believe it was NetGeese, is it?
Yeah, it's a fork of the company that was behind DCUO and City of Heroes, I believe.
Yeah. So it's an interesting topic, and I'd like to hear what everybody in chat has to say on the subject. What you think of the news of them coming out with a new MMO that Games Workshop is pushing in conjunction with this new dev team, as well as what you'd have to say, Karis.
Well, I was going to ask if you had a website for that, or because until you said something about it the other day, I had no idea. So
One second.
I was just trying to look up something up on the. Oh,
And
there it is.
appreciate the follows, guys.
Yeah, I'm bringing
Yeah.
some of my people over.
Oh, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And like Storm Rage does, he also streams on the Kick platform, guys. As I linked it in chat. So definitely go give him a follow over there. I'm actually over on Kick as well, trying to spread the word on ROR. I actually got the Kick people to add a category in for the ROR streamers. So we have a home over on that platform for when anyone wants to stream.
Well, hopefully, I can get the multi-streaming stuff ironed out and smoothed out, and we can start bringing some ROR over to Kick. I think that'd be really cool.
Hey, it's always good to spread the word. I mean, it's word of mouth travel. We get more people into the game.
That's one of the more interesting things I find about streaming on Twitch. I'm always like surprised when something new happens. Part that I enjoy the most is that I have people who have never either played the game, like people who've played World of Warcraft, that are like, "Wow, what is this? This looks awesome." And then I have another one that's like, the other spectrum is like people who've played ROR Live or Return of Reckoning Live or Age of Reckoning Live, and they're like, "This game is still alive. How do I get that?" And I'm like, "Here you go, man. Like, let's get in here, join us."
Yeah, it's definitely got a loyal following. That's one thing I can say. I mean, there's people that's been here since the lights was turned on, and they'll be here until the lights are turned off.
Oh, and I know it.
I mean, I've said it repeatedly. It's a love hate relationship.
It's a game that is near and dear to my heart, given the time that I've spent on it and the people I've met and the community that we built. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, as I said just a minute ago, guys, that when news broke that Games Workshop was launching a new MMO. There's been numerous YouTube videos out there that have been released by a lot of people that are very keen on paying attention to it. They're like, well, it's not elaborating if it's mentioning the 40K, which everybody has known that they're working on a 40K, but it's been repeatedly, I believe, pushed back or have changed dev teams a couple of times. But this one, it seems like they're leaning very heavily towards fantasy, where they're wanting to explore bringing fantasy back. So, again, that leads me to believe, well, what does that mean for the ROR server? I mean, obviously, with Games Workshop's prior track record, they would move to try and force a shutdown of the server. And the reason they could do that is the only reason this server is allowed to stay up and running, and even Max has said this in dev streams, is that they're only by the good graces of Games Workshop not caring to do anything with the IP. But if they're indeed moving forward with a fantasy, that means they're going to be using their IP. So logic would dictate at some point, while I hate to say it, it could happen that it could lead to a shutdown of the server if they go that route. Again, it's still too early to say, but I wanted to bring it to the table so I could hear people's thoughts on it, because it is definitely a topic of discussion to a lot of people.
I think it's going to depend heavily upon how greedy Games Workshop wants to get and how much they want to try and funnel new players into a project that they're directly hands-on again.
Yeah,
It's that sort of situation alone tends to breed a bit of competitiveness, and with how devoted the ROR community is to Warhammer, I think that there's a strong possibility that a lot of us brush off a modern take on a you know modern take with cash shop and pay to skip and a lot of those other modern conveniences that MMOs typically fall trap to. Especially because NetGeese, I guess Jack Lipton Games in this case, is no stranger to time savers and ways to spend your money in a way that is a bit consumer unoriented, I guess. It's more business oriented. And
yeah,
that's a bit of a scary slope.
yeah. It is, I've seen companies that turn games into nothing more than cash cows, and it never ends well.
I mean, look at Trove as an example with Treon Worlds. They everything they touch turns into a cash grab. Trove
Yeah,
was Minecraft Diablo for what it's worth. One of the
yeah.
coolest game ideas I've seen in recent times, and that was immediately discarded by a large portion of the player base because of how much money you could spend skipping the important aspects of the game.
Very true. Very true.
And with a game that has as much of a grind as Warhammer or as a big fantasy MMO, World of Warcraft included, I talk about this a lot on my stream as well. I really hate the WoW token. I do. I hate it. I would rather people buy gold from the company that is responsible for the game directly than gold sellers. But it did divulge a lot of the community into two separate places, and it did introduce the ability to swipe your card and skip a lot of the important content in the game.
Yeah.
Classic is a big example of that. Blizzard just added the WoW token to that, and I think a lot of us are kind of sick of that, of having our old school MMO grind belittled by people who want to just spend money and skip content. And there is a strong possibility that that ends up being a thing. And if the money looks good from Games Workshop's end, and they take a look at ROR, they remember, hey, there's an agreement we have with these guys. Uh, there's a possibility that we could get restricted or something could definitely yeah, so yeah, dude, cause that is
I,
something that happened with Classic. They did introduce the WoW token to it recently into Wrath Classic for GDKP runs, of course.
Karis, I believe you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, go for it.
well, I agree with the skipping content is, I suppose, a sign of the times, and that people want instant gratification on most everything, most every endeavor that they engage in.
Right.
But as far as the Games Workshop shutting down this server, if they open up a new Warhammer MMO, I'm not so sure. I mean, my opinion on it is that let's be generous and say that we have 3,000 dedicated players. All right, 3,000 people spread around the world. The majority of which, if the game was launched, would probably go try it anyway.
Yeah.
I
True.
think I think Warhammer, if a new Warhammer MMO comes out and it is successful, Games Workshop won't have to worry about us because it will absorb us anyway.
Yeah.
And then the
True.
server will drop down. The server will drop down to such a point that um, whether or not it stays active will sort of be academic to them because they'll look at the numbers. Oh, they've got 50 people playing on a regular basis. I think we can live with that, you know. Now, you made a point the other day when you and I talked about it that is true. Games Workshop over the years has shown again and again that they seem to care about, the almighty dollar above even common sense sometimes. The whole thing about the the fan fiction. I thought, man, what kind of psychos are running that place that they're going to go over people who write fan fiction?
It's the
But
That's
it's the
why.
it's the investors.
Yeah, that's why I had to
yeah,
stop with my book that I was writing, and I've put it on hold because I basically am at the mercy of Games Workshop. I've been told that the only way I can continue pushing my book forward is I have to go back through and basically take all any reference or mention of any characters from or from Warhammer and pull them out of it.
Wow.
well, you
And
could write a and I mean, I know this because I've done it. You could write a story that is completely based on the Warhammer world, and
well,
all you have to do is change the names, and
well,
Uh, yeah.
you create your own. You it's the same thing as looking at Tolkien's work in Lord of the Rings and the guy who wrote Game of Thrones, which for some reason I can't bring up his name, George R. R. Martin. Okay,
yeah,
there are a lot of similarities. I mean, between the two works, there are a lot of baseline similarities in crafting the worlds that they did
yeah. Well,
that you could point out. But nobody's going to try to sue George R. R. Martin because because some of his baseline construction was the same as Tolkien's. That's just
well,
it would be pointless. Go ahead.
and you're correct on that, which is what surprised me because I think there's like three characters that are actually referenced from the Warhammer world. All the main characters are of my own creation because they're all based off of characters I created for my old Dungeons and Dragons group, which I've had for 20 years. So, I mean, at this point, yeah, I'm just going to go back and rewrite change those names out, and you know, it, hopefully that will get by because it's a 100-page manuscript I have now, but in book format it break down to about 200 pages, including all the artwork and stuff that will go with it eventually. It's the point that the Games Workshop of recent has gone after fan fiction writers, even longtime supporters of their community, and it's just people are like, why are you hammering the people that are supporting you? It
Yeah, we.
makes no sense.
I
I
mean, we could
think.
talk.
Yeah. Yeah. Go on. Go on.
Well, I was just going to say we could talk more about the writing aspect of it at some other time. But
Yeah.
just one last quick point: there are a lot of uh, plot devices that are considered in the public domain. And one example that would be applicable here is if you wrote your story and used the term "the old world" to refer to some other portion of history of the world you created. Okay, you can't be sued for that because a lot of people use the term the old world, or a lot of people use a race like the Empire or elves. You can have high elves in your story and nobody can sue you because high elves themselves are considered to be part of the public domain.
I was.
It would
Yeah.
only be if you named one of them Legolas and made him an archer, then people would come after you, right? But otherwise, uh, there's a lot of stuff that you can use that no one can say anything about.
Well, circling back to Games Workshop a little bit, and just like this whole overarching sentiment, really, it it more comes down to a big company realizing they can bully smaller people out of the space. They can do basically whatever they want to do. They have more money, they have more lawyers, they have pressure. If they can go after somebody, they probably will. I don't know if you're familiar with Games Workshop and the display figuring cases that somebody was 3D printing, the display
But
stands
yeah,
for their figures. Yeah. And
yeah, I
Games
saw that.
Workshop came after somebody's fan project that they did for free and then turned around and sold the same product for like what $150 a stand or something like that. Like this
Yeah.
this this is the company we're talking about. This is Games Workshop. This is how they've always been. Me and my chat went over it yesterday. We were playing a little WoW and we were talking about a little bit of topics. Yeah, it's disgusting. It is. We were talking about topics like this where Games Workshop has gone out of their way to try to make people miserable or try to force them into buying product. And in a way, it's smart because it corners the market, makes a monopoly, makes to where people really can't compete in the space with them. A lot of those cheaper figures or alternative products get shut down pretty much immediately, and you're forced to just buy what they have. The same, I think, could hold true for software. If this game launches, 40K fantasy, whatever it ends up being, if this game launches, and I see your point about they'll probably leave us alone, and there's a strong possibility of that. If this game were to come out tomorrow and it launches to the sound of pitchforks and sirens, I think that Games Workshop is going to be very angry, and they're going to start taking a look around for what they could point the blame at, because they're not going to take the blame. They don't want to. They don't want to take. They don't want something that they do to fail. Are you kidding me? How could they let that happen? They're Games Workshop, and that to me is more concerning than the idea of an MMO. Is that they could look over and go, well, maybe these guys have had it too good for too long. Maybe we need to take a look at what they're doing. Maybe this is the cause of why our game did so poorly. Not because they made a bad product. No, no, Games Workshop can do no wrong. But that is unfortunately the sad side of a business guru, I guess you could say, or an organization really that is out of touch with its players. I think we've seen a lot of this happen, especially now with like the Activision takeovers that's been happening for Call of Duty projects, assets that are being sold for $60, on digital marketplaces that are unsafe, that you can have your personal data compromised through these game clients, and they're still shutting down these passion projects that are community ran because they realize they can port the game to Game Pass, they can port the game to Sony servers and sell you the game through the digital marketplace. Same concept with Warhammer, I think, is that why would they let somebody play the free alternative that's better than the garbage they're trying to put out? And again, we don't know. We don't know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping it's good. I want more people interested in Warhammer, especially fantasy. Um, but I think it's the same kind of like vacuum concept there for sure.
True. I agree with you there. Curious, any thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, there are two valid points that have been made here that
Mhm.
sort of make it a coin toss. I mean, on one hand, you're right when you talk about the psychos at Game Workshop in the way that they approach issues like this. But it's also, I think, it's like a 50-50 maybe, to put it in simplistic terms. But I still sort of lean toward the side that when this game comes out, if and when it comes out, that initially they'll leave us alone, thinking because somebody up there's got to, somebody who works at Games Workshop has to understand the concept of what gamers want, what gamers are. Gamers are people who want to go into new games that are fun, and so they would just sort of draw off the whole clientele from here, and it would depend on how many people left this server for good to play their product.
Right.
And if the number stayed high enough here, then yeah, I think that everything you said at that point, I think everything you said would kick in, and they would come shut the thing down because they think we have too many people. But it's initially, I just think initially I would lean toward the fact that they would probably leave us alone, uh, and let the market sort of draw us off.
Yeah,
But
I
okay,
think launch wise for sure, there's a strong possibility that to me my initial reaction was that this is probably pretty much nothing but good news because it'll get people like having a known name make even if the game sucks, right? Even if it's garbage, having a company with a known name behind it, creating an IP that a lot of us have been looking for, I think it could bring a lot of good light into the Warhammer space. And I think there's a strong possibility that it kind of makes a resurgence for a game like ROR. Like again, I mentioned before, I have people come into my chat who have no idea that Return of Reckoning is even here, and they're like, "How do I get
Yeah,
on this?" You know, and
yeah.
a friend of mine plays Classic WoW, and he plays Classic. He just started retail, and he's like, "I've always wanted to play this game." I'm like, "It's free, join us," and then he did. You know, and I think that a new MMO coming out with the fantasy tag would definitely push people to try this game, even if it's not as modern as something that could be coming out through Games Workshop or NetGeese or whoever's taking it over.
I guess there's a third possibility.
Hmm.
Is that um, DAOC has been around for what, since the end of the Civil War or something like that, and
Yeah,
people
it's older
still,
than me.
yeah, and people still play that. And if I understand it correctly, there's like one official sanctioned server that's still running, and then there's like another private server like this one, right?
Yeah,
And I suppose the third option is, based on what you just said, is that if their MMO is successful and brings more people in, then they might, there's that small possibility that they might go ahead and sanction this server as, okay, this is the classic Warhammer now, right? If you want to try that too, but I mean that's just a thought. I mean it's probably the lowest on the rank of possibilities, but
It's still a valid possibility. I mean, if they were to sanction it and give it some support, it would definitely help. And Little Demon just said in chat, these people soon realize this game is not the one they remember. It needs to be new player slash casual friendly to grow.
I got a lot to say about the new player experience as somebody who's come back to the game with basically naked characters. We can get to that whenever you're ready.
No worries, no worries. Before we move on, was there anything else that anyone else in chat would like to bring forward concerning what we were just discussing with the news of a new MMO? That's as much as we really know right now, is that Games Workshop with NetGeese is working on a new project. And what it could possibly mean for us here in the ROR family, especially considering that PC Gamer ran the article and tagged the ROR server in the comments.
Yeah.
That's yeah, that gave me pause for thought.
And then that's what drove a lot of my initial speculations about the whole project in general. Being a thing
Yeah.
with the whole announcement was like, I was like, well, if we have public eye before, we've caught the public eye a couple of times,
Oh
bigger
yeah.
names, bigger streamers and stuff too.
Well, not just that. 2020, ROR was voted best MMORPG classic, still running at the end of 2020. We beat out classic WoW
Yeah.
and other MMOs for that title.
And I think that's a good point that Karis brought up is the possibility that we do have this game run alongside, a fantasy Warhammer MMO, kind of like classic in a way. Could you
Yeah.
imagine the like just the sheer support longevity something like that could bring? I think that would be
Oh yeah.
that would be
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
nuts. That's definitely best of both. That's like best possible scenario.
that would be a glorious day in the history of gaming.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
for
Yep.
all of
Yep.
us.
I would definitely love to see it where they release their MMO and they give the devs here some validity, even consider saying, hey, we'll throw some money your way to help support a classic server.
I think the
So
only
maybe they
thing,
could actually
yeah,
do something to improve things.
I think the only thing the game really needs is a 64-bit client to kind of address some of the performance issues. It definitely ROR still has that classic MMO feel that I think a lot of people will have, especially we're missing after the launch of Classic WoW being so modernized. I still see
Yeah,
people talk about it constantly.
yeah, oh yeah, very true, very true. All right, well, I think we have covered a pretty good deal about that. If anyone in chat decides to look back on that, don't worry. I'll have the YouTube video up later today. Karis, I know you had some topics you wanted to bring to the table, so I'll turn the floor over to you.
Well, I wanted to bring up Land of the Dead
Oh boy, here we go.
again. Um, were you on, just out of curiosity? Were you on yesterday, either of you, when
I
Land of the Dead
watched.
started up?
I
You,
didn't.
you
I
were
wasn't
okay.
able to get on because of the constant crashing.
Yeah, I was just about to go live as Land of the Dead was ready to kick off.
Well, I was doing Realm Watch, uh, and I'm always happy when in doing Realm Watch. I'm always happy when Land of the Dead it coincides with Realm Watch because it's such a cool place. And just in case for someone listening who has not yet heard me speak about Land of the Dead, I think it is a fantastic zone. I think it's one of the best things the devs here have done for the server is to introduce that area. I think it has massive potential, and of course, the accessibility and usability of it will increase over time. Okay, all that being said, it also tends to be a Destro Zerg fest, and Destro tends to win the majority of the Land of the Deads that come out. And I of course am not the only one who says that. People talk about it all the time. Uh, I think the last Order Victory in Land of the Dead I know of was one that I was playing in about. It's been at least a month,
Yeah.
and uh, I still have all the. I recorded the whole thing. I just have yet to do anything with the video, but um, I thought about putting a video out saying, "Look, see, it is possible, right?" But uh, but without spending too much time on it, my baseline, because I've talked about this on my stream and on Realm Watch, is that currently what happens to the Land of the Dead is not a dev issue; it's a player issue.
I was just about to say, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because if you look at the overall Land of the Dead map, it bears some resemblance to Lost Temple of Aisha, in
Hmm.
that you have two intersecting angles of approach to the one place everybody has to go. And because Land of the Dead is split in the middle, by the River of Death, and so both sides have to go to the one place on the map and establish dominance. Okay, Destro, by and large, understands that better. And so when they begin, they all herd all the way down there and just sort of wait around for order to show up, smash them, and then that's it. They've won. While order comes out and tends to split up to go to the other BOs, thus making it much more easy for Destro to smash them. And then people get discouraged, I guess is a good word.
Yeah.
And after that, Destro just systematically just pushes a bit at a time until they've got order herded up. Okay, there's a player solution for that. There's an implementation of tactics and strategy that can address that issue,
Hmm.
but it's hard. It is. I mean, it's so incredibly hard to get order to actually do that, and
It's like
that's what's
herding cats.
frustrating. Yeah, that's what's frustrating about it. Okay, I now turn the field over to you guys for a response.
Well, in that I agree, and I've done Land of the Dead, and I've seen Order. I mean, and sure enough, they go out there. You might have some pre-mades in the mix, but the underlying one of the underlying issues is that Order scatters.
Hmm.
Some of those pre-mades will work together, some of them won't. The pugs tend to just follow what the pre-mades are doing, but I've also seen where one pre-made will turn its back on another just because it's not what they want to do. And then when orders, it generally, as you just said, Destro rolls in. They're organized. They're hammering order from every angle, and order just folds up. Well, then it boils down to, okay, the pre-mades want to blame the pugs. The pugs are like, why won't you help us?
Right.
So it just tears itself apart. And I've watched Order do this. I've seen every single guild on Order that I can think of in Land of the Dead when I've been in there. I've seen the different ones, Bitterstone, all of them, and I've watched them literally tear themselves apart because they'll go to blaming each other
Yeah.
instead of setting aside their differences and try to work towards a common goal. It's everybody for himself, and Destro just has a field day. That isn't Destro's fault for monopolizing on your weakness. If you can't set aside, and this is just me speaking, if you cannot set aside your arrogance to work together with your common players on your faction, that is your fault, not the other side's, and not the devs. That is the player base doing that. Period.
Yeah, I think I'm primarily a Destro player myself. You guys should know this if you ever watched the stream. But I do play Order from time to time at max level, and I think this is not necessarily just a Land of the Dead issue, but it is something that has definitely been going on with the Order faction as a whole.
Yeah,
I've
it
been
is.
I see it a
It's been
lot
going
in
on a while.
scenarios in open RVR as well. Well, anytime I'm roaming around playing Witch Hunter, minding my own business, I might have a small man, small group going, doing some roaming, and it happens. Yeah, just like in open RVR. Yeah, that's definitely it's been a thing.
Well, I would hate to see what happened to the cities happen to Land of the Dead,
Hmm.
because the point you made about this being kind of a problem that dates back. I mean, I don't know if you were here when the cities first opened, but when the cities first opened, the same thing was tended to be true there as well. And cities meant something. That's the point I'm making. To stay focused here, because I'm like you, Tiger. I just got up 5 minutes before all this started, but but to stay focused, cities used to mean something. Cities used to force you to try to focus and get a good group together and build a war band to go in to have the best chance. Because cities used to be a place where it was the only way you could get soft gear, right?
Right.
And then they changed it and made cities academic. You can do them if you want to,
Basically a
but there's
formality
nothing.
to go like I've
Yeah,
experienced city sieges before. Okay, on to
yeah,
farming.
yeah, and
It's a
and I
blessing
and
and a
I,
curse, really.
what I would like to see for Land of the Dead is the introduction of something that is unique to the Land of the Dead, and if you played the game for 10,000 years, you would never be able to get whatever it is that thing is unless you go to the Land of the Dead. Make it worthwhile, right? I think at the moment, I mean, there are some unique items there, right? A few armor pieces, stuff like that. But um, I see that comment a lot. That people, why should I go to the Land of the Dead? You know, what, what are the rewards for going and fighting there? And at the moment, there doesn't appear to be a good answer.
Right. And we had that issue before with city sieges as well, where it was just like, what is the point of doing one? Like I came back and I was like, what is the point of me going to city siege? And people are like, you could do it if you want. It's decent crests, if you have nothing else really going on. That's kind of that's kind of what it feels like with Land of the Dead. I've only been once myself, and it was cool. I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. I played Destro and I played my Chosen, and I went to smack some healers around, and that was kind of it.
Yeah,
And I'd like to be able to spend more time there. It's just it feels like the lack of objectiveness whenever you get there. It's like yes, there are BOs and yes, there are places you have to be, but unless you get people running through there with you or people want to work together, you're gonna just get zerged out.
And guys, slight interruption. We are joined by none other than the Tosh himself, the Shut Up Kid.
Tosh.
I invited him to join us on the show here at the last minute, so he's going to be weighing into the topics. Karis, was there anything further with? I know you had a couple of topics you wanted to go over.
Uh, well, as far as Land of the Dead, no, I mean I don't want to beat it to death, but I would just reiterate my initial point is that I think what's going on there at the moment is an issue that well, let me rephrase it this way. There are a lot of people who are opposed to quote running the Zerg or running the Horde or the Blob. That's the word I keep encountering. you know, blobbing up. Okay, all scenarios are different in the fact that they're different. And so Land of the Dead is one of those places where, at least initially, blobbing up is the correct tactic, right?
Hmm.
Blobbing up is the right thing to do. And just because you may not like blobbing up, okay, you don't want to do it, you're going to lose. It to me, it doesn't come down to much more than that. So, all right, thank you for allowing me to indulge myself
No
on that.
worries. Tosh, anything you'd like to weigh in on? I saw your comment. Uh, you got the floor. Oh, is he having trouble?
Maybe.
Can you hear me?
There we
Yes.
go.
Yes.
How's it going, Storm Rage?
What's up, man? Good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see you. How's it going, Karasana?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Toth, I can't stay long. I just wanted to jump in just regarding this topic,
No worries.
regarding Land of the
Fire
Dead.
away.
So, first of all, I've never done Land of the Dead. I've never been there, never done it at all. I don't find it to be content that's for me, but that's not to say it's not good content. My thing, or my point of view in regards to Land of the Dead, of why Order fails so often in Land of the Dead, probably a loss rate of, I would guess, 85, 90%, is the same reason why when pugs enter open RVR, they get smashed, and that is they don't commit to a fight. They're too range focused. There's too many Bright Wizards, too many Shadow Warriors, too many Engineers, that as soon as somebody walks forward, they just run. They don't commit. There's no melee front line. There's no tank front line. It's too much range on a pug stance. That's my point.
I agree. Actually, I definitely want to point that out. The the fear in running around like I had this chicken has a lot to do with the fact that it feels like melee is at a massive disadvantage in most content in Warhammer in general, and it's kind of always been that way, right? Ranged hurts, NG's hurt, Bright Wizards hurt, Sork's hurt, like Magus can shred you completely to nothing. It kind of sucks playing melee, and when you don't have a group to follow up with you at your back constantly, healers ready to go, detaunt's ready to go, people crowd controlling properly, punts going out, in proper directions and stuff to get, other melee off of you. It becomes very hectic to organize, and I think that a lot of it boils down to the fact that you can just leave, you can just run away from a fight. You know, that's that is a huge issue with just the overarching competitiveness of a big zone like that. You can just back out. What is How is a chosen going to catch a bright wizard? You're not. You're just going to run away. Like he's got two legs. How are you supposed to deal with that? And it definitely holds true when you're playing something like a Slayer trying to catch a Magus or you're trying to catch a Sork. You're never catching him. It's not happening. And by the time you do catch him, you're dead. You overcommit to the fight, and it gets frustrating, right? I think is the point that everybody's made here is that it gets frustrating to put yourself in that situation. People don't work together. Everybody's dying. Like, what are you supposed to do? How do you get people to focus up? Unless you are a big, pre-made group, not everybody's going to want to Zerg. And, like, I've seen some people in your chat, mention it too. A lot of people are anti-blob, anti-deathball, even though that is kind of what you have to do.
At times, not always, yeah, but you're right. At times, it is the thing to do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True, true. So even the guys in Retribution, this I'll say because it's common enough. I hear it out of them. They don't like the blob. They get bored with it. They're like, yeah, there's times when it's necessary, but when it becomes to where it's repetitive and it's over and over again, it gets old. So there's time there, but now they also tend to run their main warband, and then if they have more people interested, they'll try to form an offshoot warband to run with them. So where it's predominantly just them, and they'll try to tag team or they'll operate independent of one another. It just depends on what they're doing. But I get both sides of it. I mean, there's times when yes, it is necessary, but just all the time, no.
If you look at the makeup of a pug, let's say a pug SC, comparison to Order and Destro, it can be very, very common to see Destro running almost nothing but either tanks and healers and maybe a couple DPS.
Yeah.
one or two choppas, one or two witch elves or whatever. But they can have 5, 6, 7 tanks, 3, 4, 5 healers, and then just a couple DPS. Whereas on an order pug in an SC, it's going to be probably almost no tanks. It's going to be 2, 3, 4 engineers or bright wizards or shadow warriors, and a DPS AM, and maybe a Slayer who's unguarded. Then you go into the SC. What happens? That Slayer who's unguarded is all by himself fighting 5 tanks, all while the range stands. Let's say like in Nordland stands on the bridge where the flag isn't at, and that Slayer can't do squat because he has no support because he's fighting 5 people by himself. As soon as he dies, his friends run away back to the war camp.
Yeah.
That's the problem that Order has on
Mm-hmm.
a pug level.
hundred
I
percent.
agree. I've run into that numerous times because when I was with another pug just earlier in the stream, same thing. I wasn't getting heals. I got a guard, but I wasn't getting heals. I'm like, the guard helps, but if I don't get any heals, I'm dead. And then one person was like, well, your DPS is low. I'm like, okay, let's think about this. I'm not getting any heals. What do you think's going to happen to a class that doesn't have armor?
You watch a stream like Zell, who plays a sword and board blackguard. Anytime Nordland SC pops up, what does he do? He takes his blackguard, he runs to the bridge, and he starts punting people off the bridge into the ocean 17,000 miles away. Well, that's because they just stand on the bridge. So now they're out of the fight for 5 minutes because they got to swim around the map to get back. So they're out of the fight. At that point, it's lost. It's over with. Order on a pug level, Order needs to change its mindset to defeat Destro on a pug level. You got to bring the fight to him. You can't play passive, scared mindset. Otherwise, you're going to lose.
It's true.
It is.
I know when I led the war bands I used to lead, and again, I started out pug war band leading, and this was like me and Sproximus at the time. We would go toe to toe with freebooters and FMJ when FMJ was in its heyday, but that was because we would weed out the people that weren't going to work together versus the ones that would, and we would dig in and play in such a manner that would complement our strengths and reduce the risk of wipes. Case in point, our one pug war band fought freebooters and FMJ by ourselves in KV for over 5 hours with us asking the pre-mades, we need help. No one showed. Then all of a sudden the pre-mades show up and said, oh, we saved the day. Like, where were you for the last 5 hours?
All right, I have to insert something here, please. And to support what Toth is talking about. As some of you know, I've been crafting Warhammer videos. All right, 5 years ago, I put out a video about playing in Nordenwatch. It's all about playing the Nordenwatch SC. At exactly 3 minutes and 18 seconds into that video, big red letters come up on the screen. I'm looking at it right now, which say, and I quote, "There are no points for capturing the bridge." So this is, I mean, this is not a new issue, man. I mean,
No.
Toth is correct. Toth is correct in what he's talking about. Absolutely. All I'm adding is that, this has been a problem for a while. And I made a point about it 5 years ago. And here we are still.
Destro is aggressive because they are majority tanks and melee. They don't run around in warbands filled with range. They are mostly BOs, Chosens, Blackguards, Choppas. That's the majority of their force.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
they just run forward because they can't just stand back and be passive. Otherwise, they get nothing accomplished. They know that. So their role is just move forward, use that W key, and hold it down. Where Order is the opposite. I'm talking pugs. I'm not talking pre-mades. Pugs. Pugs are, again, they don't have that W key mindset. They have that let's run away mindset because we have no front line. Period.
True,
Yeah,
true.
that is true. I will say.
I've seen it, and it annoys me to no end. And I've even had people say, "Well, you backed up too." I said, "Well, there's no point in me standing there by myself if you guys are going to take off. It's just what I'm supposed to just die." I'm like, guys, you've got to fight. That's why even Gigi has said this to me. He said, "You charge into Destro quite often, trying to save people." And I said, "Yeah, because it's not something they're used to."
Right.
And I've seen what happens when a good solid pug, and that's rare, actually digs in and goes at Destro. Usually, if there's a pug that stands up to them, they'll pause for a minute and be like, "Okay, hold on, we got to shift gears." So it's possible to beat any other warband, pre-made or not, but you've got to have the nerve to stand up to it and fight, and for better lack of a word, not want to tuck tail and run.
If you watch like a person like Gravard, which I don't watch a lot of Gravard streams, not because I dislike him. I think he's a fine streamer. I just don't have the time to watch everybody all the time. But he was playing Order, I want to say maybe a week and a half ago, and this was in KV, and he had his Order warband running, and he was expressing frustration because Order just wouldn't move, and he's like Order, like, fight, open field fight. He's like, if I was playing Destro, this would be so much easier. He couldn't do anything because Order just won't move. Why? Again, because on a pug level, they're too passive. They have no front line. They have no melee. They have nothing. So they just don't move. They don't do anything.
Yeah. It's true. Now, I have seen times where a pre-made will work with a pug because they're like, okay, well, yeah, they can come in as backup. Basically, we'll engage first, and you guys be right on our six to help support us. That can work. If they don't have tanks for a strong front line, then yeah, your priority in that offshoot warband would be, splash heals, lay down support fire for the main group. You're going to get kills. Somewhere in the crossfire, you'll hit something, you'll get kills, you'll get renown. But until Order changes its playstyle, specifically with the pugs, it's going to stay like it is. And honestly, I think people have hit the point where they got no fight left in them. And the few that do are not able to galvanize the rest to even try.
And I'm not saying Order pugs can't get renowned or not getting kills. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about winning. I'm not talking about getting kills.
Yeah.
I'm talking about they're not going to win. Yes, you will get renowned. Yes, you will get crest. Yes, you will get that. Just by standing on a bridge getting AoE damage. But you're not going to win. So if you want to win, you have to change. And I don't think Order will ever change on a pug level. I've been talking about this since 2017. And it's never going to change. It never will. Land of the Dead will never be an Order success because on a pug level they just won't change.
True.
There's a reason why in 2020 when cities came out, Destro won something like 26 cities in a row. I'm not talking individuals. I'm talking overall cities. Back when we used to have 30, 40 instances pop in a city,
Yeah.
Destro won 26 overall cities in a row because of that mindset. It only started to change now that we're down to 3, 4, 5, 6 cities that pop now when it comes to instances. So now it's just pre-made versus pre-made for the most part. So now it evens out. But on a pug level, they just get stomped because of the same reason.
Yeah. I got you. And it's a valid point. I mean, people got to change their mindsets, and if they won't change it, nothing will ever change. And it's just going to be what it is right now, where the pugs get slaughtered, and then they get aggravated, and they're looking for somebody to blame. Or in general, Order as a whole will look for somebody to blame. Let me rephrase that. And it's counterproductive. I mean, if you know you're having an issue, take a look at the issue and actually try to implement something that will work. And another problem with the pugs, and I've seen it even with Vith's crew, who I was just running with. Uh, it's getting people to listen. People have this mindset: get in a pug, and they don't want to listen. They don't want to do anything to work together. They are solely self-absorbed, and that's it.
It, if you look at probably, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm gonna guess that if you were to look at all the 5-star locks that have happened, I would say probably 9 out of 10 of them have been done by Destro, and that's because a lot of times Order will just sit in a keep waiting for Destro to attack. The Destro just says, "Well, why attack? Why play their game? We're just gonna lock the zone by PVE method, by 5-star locking it, and we'll just lock it that way." While Order just sits in a keep and doesn't do anything at all because all they want to do is, well, hopefully we can funnel the inner. Maybe that's our only plan. Well, funnel inner. Other than that, they have no game plan.
Right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have to ask a question. I mean, how many times have you actually seen that Order will just stand around and let Destro go to a 5-star
Plenty.
lock?
Plenty. I have seen that plenty of times.
And I'm not. Don't misunderstand my question. I'm just saying that has not been my experience. But of course, you and I have some play styles in common in that we spend most of our time alone. So sometimes I don't even pay attention to what the overall board is doing. But that just seems a little extreme, I think.
I wouldn't say a 5-star lock is common these days because that's not, because most of the player base just gets tired of going for it. But it was very common, I would say maybe a year ago, that you would have a 5-star lock at least once a week. Where you would 5-star lock a zone at least once a week. These days, it's not common because people just leave a zone as soon as something hits 3 stars. They'll just abandon that zone, then they'll just go work on another zone, and then just sit on a bridge or sit in a tavern or whatever, then fight there for 5 hours. So it's not as common, but it certainly is common. We had a 5-star lock by Destro, I want to say 3 weeks ago, for the exact same reason. Order had no stars. Destro ended up getting 5 stars. Locked the zone via PVE because Order just wouldn't move. They just want to sit in a keep and hoping that Destro attacks. It's passive playstyle.
I was there for that, and one of the people leading that little menagerie was Dream Eyes, and I argued with him about it. He's like, "Well, if you want to go feed them, you do it. We're gonna stay in the keep." I said, "They're not going to attack the keep."
Yeah, you're not gonna get anything done unless you actually
He
play.
wouldn't listen. He was like, "Well, you can go feed him. Go play Destro." And he's just a prime example of it. I'm like, so you're just going to give up the fight and not try to do anything? I said, you could try guerrilla tactics. There's any number of things you could do. And he just he went immediately for telling everybody, go sit in the keep and wait it out.
Yeah.
In Karasana, not to be, I'm not attacking you here when I'm going to say this. This is not an attack on you, but I think the reason why you probably don't notice it because, as you've said your own self, you don't really care about open RVR. You don't care about keep defenses or zone locks. You're more about you're more about scenarios.
Yeah.
So that's why you probably don't notice it.
Yeah, that's true. I spend the bulk of my time playing SCs for sure.
I like to roam.
Yeah, I don't do scenarios. I stay in open RVR for, I would say, my 8-hour stream that I usually do. I am doing maybe 3 or 4 scenarios that entire time. Otherwise, I'm solo open RVR.
Yeah, I got you, and I can attest that because I've seen you do it. I followed along behind you a couple of times when I was on my rune priest. It is. I don't know how I've tried putting the idea forward to people, suggestions when I run with various different pug leaders. I'm like, you could try this, and then there's some people that I know from decent guilds. They'll be real quick to say no, just sit in the keep, or no, don't do this, don't feed Destro, don't do that. I'm like, you spend so much time saying don't feed them, don't do this, don't do anything. What's the point of playing if you're too afraid to try? Then what are you doing even trying?
Well,
or even being on the game?
Well, the other issue is, and this isn't really an order issue per se, but this is just another thing that that I personally have a problem with is there's a few leaders. I'm not going to say what their names are, but there's a few leaders on the server that I know play order, maybe play destro, where it's it's not a thing of, don't pop a ram, don't siege because it's gonna ruin the open RVR fighting. So let's just keep fighting on the bridge because that's what's PvP to them. What they're truly telling you is don't siege, don't end the zone because you're gonna ruin our farming. We're farming pugs right now. Don't ruin our farm. So don't pop a ram, don't siege, don't do any of that. We want to sit here and keep killing people 30 times over and over again. And if you do pop a ram, we're not going to support you. So people get bored of standing around doing nothing. They log out, they quit, and then the other side decides to push when there's no population to PV door. That's the other issue, but that's more of a server
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I've also seen where I've seen order guilds that will get mad if they see a pug pop a ram, and they'll go snatch the ram and run it off into PvE.
Yep. I've seen that way too many times.
I have a video of me when I was streaming. Now this is probably 6 months ago of where I was gonna pop a ram. I popped several rams as a solo player because I can't stand zones. Just sit like people in Prague. It's just stand in MS for 5 hours and you just either run to one war camp or the next, but you don't do anything but stand at MS so you can get your 1,000 kills that day. It's boring as shit. Sorry, it's boring to stream. It's boring to play and it's boring to watch. So I've popped rams as a solo player many times, and then you'll have some warband leader say, well, I'm not going to support your siege, steal your ram, and then try to run it off into PvE to destroy it, so that way they can go back to their farming quest, of killing pugs. The attitude on the server needs to stop as a whole and get away from this. Get away from let's just farm everybody because that's what I want to do. To let's actually enjoy the game and play it for fun. How about that? Is that something we can do? No, we can't do that. Apparently not.
I think that ties into a lot of like the gear gap, right? Also plays into a part of that too. Think about how many people who do this stuff that are fully, completely, maximum geared to the teeth. They have nothing else to do besides try and play the game in their intended way, and they can because who's really going to contest them? The new players that have no gear. What are they going to do? Nothing. And it's this zerg of like-minded people who all do the same thing. It's like a toxicness, like a cloud almost that forms over these people. And I've seen it a lot too. And I don't want to. I don't want to belittle anybody's grind. Of course, I want people to be able to just you play, you get your max gear, you shit on people. Sorry, that's what you do. That's just how it goes. But I do think that a lot of it definitely comes from like that almost that sort of arrogance that people get where they're on top of the totem pole, nothing can contest them, they're gonna do what they want to do. And I think Tosh is 100% correct that it really just comes down to the attitude of these players, without a doubt.
Well, there's no one to stand up to him. So if leader A says this is what we want to do, nobody is willing in game to say no. We're not going to follow what you want us to do. We want to do what we want to do. But unfortunately, most of the players are a bunch of sheep players who just follow along and just go along with what idea one person has. What they don't understand is that what that one idea that player has is for selfish reasons. They're not doing it for your benefit. They're doing it for their benefit.
Yep.
They don't care about how it helps you. It helps them. So quit following people for just helping them. They're not helping you. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. This is not a new issue either. This has been going on for quite some time. Like I said, I play both factions and I see it on both factions, but predominantly when I play Order, that is where the passive play comes in. That's what makes it difficult to kind of enjoy endgame. And as somebody I'm still farming Renown, I'm still farming Invader, I'm still farming Sov. It makes it very, very, very difficult to get in and actually farm the endgame gear if nobody is going to try and actually play the game in a way that rewards crests, in a way that rewards Renown, in a way that rewards any of the stuff that you're supposed to want to go for, because those other people don't care. That's not fun to them. Even though gearing is a definite formality that you have to get through in order to get to the point where you're useful to these groups, man.
Back when cities could be pushed just by taking two forts, you had these warband leaders immediately saying, "Hey, help us push, help us push, help us push." Then a city would pop. Did these warband leaders invite these people that helped them into their warband into the city? Nope, they were all excluded.
Yeah.
Weren't invited, weren't brought, weren't. They were just disregarded, left alone, ignored until they needed those people again to help push another city. And people just don't learn, they don't care, they don't pay attention. They just sheep herd because they feel safe around the arms of somebody else. I don't know what it is, but I don't understand it myself. I don't get it, the attitude of the player base on this server at all. I just don't
Hmm.
understand it.
Valid points. Anyone in chat care to comment on what's being said? I mean, again, you guys have every right to speak your mind as much as any of us here in Discord.
If you want a good example of something, let's take the fort that happened in Ma on Friday. Let's talk about that.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about the fort that happened on Ma. One leader, and I'm not going to say the name, but one leader decided to, you know what, within 5 or 8 minutes, let's leave Ma. Let's lose Ma on purpose. Let's go to Calidor. Let's bridge fight, and then once the Ma releases and it goes back to Prague, then we'll leave Calidor and we'll go back to Prague, and then we'll sit in MS for the next 3 or 4 hours. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. But that's exactly what people did, and that's exactly what they all followed, and that's exactly what they wanted to have done. And people just, I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's true. I've seen the comments in region where one person will say no, let's push it to Prague for prime time, and then if anybody comes along with a mind to try something else, they get painted as the troublemaker or however you want to see it, and it gets old. I mean, people are so set in their ways with stuff they're not willing to try anything new, or
Yep.
they outright are hostile to anyone that comes in with a new idea. Or Lord forbid, you actually do something that succeeds where they failed, and then they pretty much turn on you like a pack of jackals. And it's the truth. The player base's attitude has got to change, and there's a lot of people that they just don't care. They're like, well, no, that's not a thing. That's got nothing to do with it. We want to play how we want to play. Okay, well, keep that up, and it will get to a point where this server will be a graveyard. That's exactly what will happen. It'll limp along, and then it'll be a case of where it's just going to be you and your buddies. And then I've even heard some of them say, "Well, we can just faction swap and fight each other." I said, "Yeah, that's real intelligent." So you openly want to kill the game that you say you enjoy because you don't want to change or adapt with the times.
Pretty much.
And I've heard that out of veteran players and even some new players, and it's just you. I'm sorry, but that frame of thinking is literally the way of the dinosaur. It doesn't allow anything to grow; it just kills it. So that I agree with everything that's been said. Every point that Tosh, Storm, Karis, and even the people in chat have said are all valid issues. And as a whole, it paints the picture of what's hurting the server. So this is in this case, it's not on the devs. This is the player base has got to change the way they do things.
What
And
what I
that's all there is to it.
what I don't understand, Toth, is that we can have a podcast like this, and everyone says, "Oh yeah, you're right, you're right, you're right." We all agree with you, but no one changes. No one
Yeah.
does anything different. Everyone says, everyone in the chat, it's like, "You're right. It has to stop. Has to stop. Has to stop." Everyone on the panel has to stop, but it never stops. No one changes. No one does anything. It's just, Tomorrow is going to go back to exactly how it was yesterday. No one does anything differently.
You
Then
know,
they go on the forums and they complain. They bitch. I'm sorry. They moan and groan about, oh, this needs to be nerfed. You need to nerf Maripol, or you need to nerf Tropopol, or you need. Well, how about you nerf the way you're playing and play differently? How about that? No, that's too hard. You're not going to do that, are you? No, you want to blame somebody else.
They don't
you
realize
know,
that it's just going to drain the enthusiasm and the will to play this game. Slowly but surely, it's going to. It's going to drive people away, and it's going to make it difficult for people to get into the game because this all trickles down from the very top all the way down to the people who are just starting to try out the game too, and they see these people acting this way, and then they start to do it too. That's change has
okay,
to
yeah,
start somewhere, and it's
you
just
beat
like, yeah.
you beat me to it, but go ahead, go ahead. You're on point, brother. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it change has to start somewhere, and I think this is what happens when I like to call it private server syndrome, where I've played a lot of private servers for World of Warcraft in my day, and it's the same mindset. People become afraid to tarnish their name, or they become afraid to do something different or challenge what they know. It's a comfort thing, but also it becomes an arrogance thing at some point because it's like Tosh said, who's really going to stand up to people to do something different? And I think I try my best to, whenever I play with a group, I make sure that I try to get people in and we can communicate through either chat or Discord or whatever we're doing. And I try my best to mount an offensive and actually play. And you guys have seen it before if you've ever watched my streams. Even in scenarios, there's just this whole defeatist mentality going around where like, what's the point of trying? What's the point of trying? They're just gonna farm us, dude. They're just gonna farm us. Like, bro, you don't understand that. Group comp matters, but what matters also is getting out of the friggin' spawn and doing something. You're not gonna accomplish anything by sitting on the sidelines waiting for somebody to come in and lead the group. You want to fight? Fight. You want to play? Play. But if you don't want to play, don't drag everybody else down with you. Don't ruin everyone else's experience because you're just going to drive people away from the game. And I feel like it's time to stop pretending like that doesn't happen because it definitely does. And I've seen it happen at all levels of the game. It happens small scale, it happens big open RVR groups, it happens with pre-mates, it happens with pugs, it happens in scenarios as well too. It's everywhere. And
You're
you
like
can
getting
watch
an amen.
any. Yeah, seriously. Dude, watch any of my VODs. Any of my VODs
This
of
is
Warhammer,
great.
you'll see the same thing happen. It's crazy.
This is great.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I've been preaching this for a long time. I mean, I appreciate your comments, man. That was well
Mhm.
said. But I appreciate your. Well, anyway, I've been saying this for a while. That way back when I made all those scenario guide videos, I made 24 of them for 24 different scenarios. But one point I made in each and every one of them is, if you're playing Blackfire Basin, for example, regardless of what else may be true in that scenario, if you will not go to where the flag is, you cannot win the scenario. It's
Yep.
just that simple. Okay? Like you were talking about, you can talk about group builds or what Tosh was talking about with too many Brightwoods. Okay. All that, you set all that aside. The baseline is still true. If you will not go and to where the flag is, you will not win. And the same thing's true in Nordenwatch. Tosh talked about that too. If you stop on the fracking bridge, you will not win.
Right.
You have to go. You have to go to where the points are, and control that area. So that should always be first. And if you can get the mindset into the player base of being aggressive, of when Calidor Woods opens up, okay, there's only one fracking flag in Calidor Woods. So where should everybody go?
The
I don't
objective.
know. Yeah. So
You
what
would
should
think,
we
right?
do? Yeah, you would think. But okay, so once you accomplish that, you get everybody to the flag. Some of those other issues can then come into play. All right, we need, maybe we need more tanks or whatever. But if you won't be aggressive, regardless of what else is true, you will not win. And that's
Yeah.
and it was good to hear somebody else talk about that.
I'm just tired of
Uh,
pretending like that should I'm tired of pretending like it doesn't exist. It's
Yeah.
been going on for a long time, and I think it's good that we have people here who kind of all are in the same sentiment when it comes to that.
Well,
'Cause, dude, it makes it hard, man. I'm gonna be honest. I'm farming like Invader and Warlord and Sov and stuff on my chosen, and it makes it hard to do anything when people give up on both sides. Like My witch hunter, normally it's solo roaming, doing my own thing. Nice little build I got going on there. It makes it hard to get anything done because I feel like I'm spending all this time roaming and getting a couple of kills here and there. When I think about just the sheer amount of progress that can be made if people actually just decided to work together.
Well, let's take a zone like Prague. Okay, I've
Hmm.
showed this a lot on my stream. During Prague, let's say doesn't really matter what time it is, but you go to Prague, you can roam almost from the top of the zone all the way down to the bottom of the zone and almost run into nobody
Yep.
because everybody is in one spot in the middle of the map. Everything else is ignored. No one does anything outside of MS. Same thing happens in Eatane. It's all at that one BO right in the middle. All the other BOs ignored. Same thing happens in High Pass. It's all at Tavern. Nothing else in High Pass matters. It's all set in Tavern. So the player base, for whatever reason, has decided to, you know what? Forget objective gameplay. Forget gameplay of trying to win. Let's just kill each other and let's just make it a team deathmatch. And there was a person that was streaming, and I like this individual, but he was like, you know what? Wouldn't it be great if we just had a zone where all it was just a big hole, and you could just shove everybody in there and just kill each other for 8 hours? Well, that's basically what the player base is doing right now. They're not playing to win. They're not playing objectives. This is for both sides. They just play just to kill each other. They want to be a Call of Duty deathmatch. And unfortunately, that's boring in an MMO, in my opinion. It serves no purpose. It gets you nowhere fast, and you just get bored, and people just leave, and then it just. I don't understand why the player base has decided to go down this road. Because
Yep.
to me, this has evolved in the last year. This has happened. Zergs have always been a problem, but at least Zergs used to roam around zones. Now it's just sit in one spot for 5 hours and just do nothing, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct. Honestly, I think something's got to give. I don't really have an immediate answer for how to light a fire under
Something
people, but
something I want to say because I'm getting ready to try and start doing this. I'm gonna start building on it again.
Mhm.
But I've decided to get back into warband leading. So my challenge to chat and everybody out there listening, if you want to actually try to save this game, to break this mindset that people have, come tag along with the Pug War bands that I'm going to try and put together. Help me help the server. I'm not talking about, show up because I'm streaming. I'm asking you guys as fellow players, step up to the plate. Don't worry about what guild you're in or what somebody's going to say. If you truly care about this game, you've got to step up and take the reins. Whether you come tag along with me or you go form your own war band.
Mhm.
It's do or die time. If you guys won't stand up and be counted for something, then put this in your mind. You're watching this game die. You're signing its death warrant. No matter how much the naysayers will say, and I know I'm going to catch flack for saying this, and I don't care. You can take your arrogance and shove it for all I care. My concern is the community. It's why I've said things in the past. If I feel something's wrong, I'm going to say something. I'm not in this to be popular. That has never been the thought. It's not about me. But yet there are people in this community that seem to think that it needs to be solely about them. Guess what?
Mhm.
Wake up call. It's not.
You're doing more harm than good at that point. You're taking the focus away from what's important in a game like this, which is, for better or worse, the community aspect. No one person is responsible for the life or the failure of this game, but I think we could definitely be doing a lot more to make sure that it continues to be around for a long time. Because otherwise, if things keep going the way that they are, no one's going to be able to get anything done. No one's going to understand the point of this game, and we're going to lose a piece of history. You know?
Yep.
Like I was saying this 2 days ago, and that is that there's only there, and this isn't something I brought up with on this podcast a month and a half ago when Karasan and I were talking about a different topic, and that is there's only been two other games in the last that I can think of 20 years that's been released. That's a PvP MMO RPG that offers what Warhammer offers, and that's ESO and Guild Wars 2. I can't think of anything else that offers what Warhammer offers right now in the last 20 years that's been
Hmm.
released. When this game dies, and it will die, okay, there is going to be almost no other game to play. So if players want to enjoy what they currently have, they better wake up and play it. Otherwise, when it's over with, they're going to have nothing to play because publishers do not make PvP based MMOs
No.
because they don't make money. Okay? So if you want to enjoy it, and if you want to have it around for a long time, for years to come, you better start changing the way you play the game. Otherwise, it's going to die off, then close down, then you'll have nothing to play. If you don't care about that, then you don't care about it, and then I got nothing for you. So if you care about it, you better change, because when it ends, you're going to have nothing to do.
Yep.
So there it is, chat. I mean, flat out. You've heard different points of view. We've discussed it, and as Tosh pointed out, myself, Karis, and many others, it's either step up and change, or don't change and watch it die. And then where are you gonna go?
Well, Warhammer is unique in that, again, Tosh is right in that there's no other game I've ever played that offers you the opportunity to do what you can do here. In context of playing a game, right?
Yeah.
To craft your character, arm your character, and go out, find somebody else, get into a good fight, manipulate the environment like you can here. I mean, there's no other game out there that allows you to do this stuff. And so if this server goes down, I mean,
It's like, what do we really have?
what are you going to do? For those who love this game, for those who what else are you going to play? I guess I'll go play Age of Tanks or what. I don't know, but nothing will be. Nothing has the magic and charm that this game does. So, and for those of you, this may be the wrong format because I think for the people who are listening to this stream right now, for the people who are listening to this stream, I think the people who are here right now get it. They get the fact that Toth Monra is doing this because he cares about the server.
Yeah.
So we're kind of preaching to the choir. We should. The message needs to be sent to Greta Thunberg's stream, and so that they can hear. Sorry, I couldn't resist. But
No,
anyway,
I know. I'm
I-
glad that we were on the same page for that one. Definitely.
yeah. The message needs to be broadened out, and especially as Tiger, as you brought up to the new players. I know you wanted to get into that, but the new player experience here is often, if you had 100 people start the game today, my conservative estimate is that 2 weeks from now there'd be 10 of them left. And
Be a fair estimate.
part of that, a huge part of that, is the interaction with a certain percentage of the community at large who do not see new players as something valuable and to be nurtured. They see new players as something to be exploited until they decide to go away. And
Correct.
that's that's
Well-
just insane. But go ahead.
Well, the only thing I would say in regards to the new player experience is, and I'm not gonna blame the player base for this aspect of it right here. As much as I like to blame them for this aspect, I'm not going to. I think what Warhammer has a problem with when it comes to the new player experience is that it's just the way that you play this game is not the way that younger players play games anymore when it comes to MMOs. It's not the same style, it's not the same process, it's not the same way that you do it. So when they go from playing a game that's, let's say, more active or current today, and then they say, "Hey, my friend wants me to play World Warhammer with them," and they log in and they say, "Well, wait, these graphics look so old. Oh, wait, what do you mean I can't, I don't have this ability, I can't do this, or I can't go here. This just feels too old. It feels too slow. It feels too clunky. It feels too outdated. Well, I'm gone because I want to go play a newer game." I think that's a big aspect that this game has a problem with when it comes to the younger audience. Now, people who might be over 25 or 30 don't really care so much. But I think younger people have a really hard time wanting to stay in a game like this. It's not, it's almost like it's not mobile friendly. I think too many gamers want that mobile experience today, and it's not that experience.
Playing a game on a cell phone is boring, man.
Yeah,
It's too screen is too small.
Yeah, but you have to understand, and I get where Tosh is saying. Me, you, pretty much the older generation, the old card players, we don't mind MMOs. We enjoy them, but we enjoy that. We also enjoy the effort that you put in. Nowadays, younger generations, it's all about gimme right now.
Yeah.
And if they don't get that, they just bounce.
Garrett,
Because they've got no drive to try anything that might be difficult. First time they run into a problem, they stop.
Karasan, you say mobile games are boring. Okay, I'm not saying you're wrong, but there's a reason why mobile games make $90 billion a year, because that's what people are playing. Okay,
Yeah.
they're not playing consoles anymore. They're not playing PC games. They're playing mobile games. And if you look at mobile games and their success, a lot of it, if you look at the player base of how players in Warhammer play, it's almost a similar eerie effect of how they're playing the mobile games, which is, I don't have to do anything on a mobile game. It does it for me. So I expect this game to do it for me as well. So I'm just going to stand here and wait for it to happen.
I think one of the most frustrating things for the new player experiences, we're kind of on the topic right now. As someone who's coming back, my gear's not bad. I've got all my accessories and everything. I'm full tallied. I'm good to go. But I still encounter a wall, right, where I'm in this strange limbo experience that I don't have 8 hours a day to play this game, unfortunately. As much as I like to stream, IRL comes first.
Yeah.
So I can't catch every Land of the Dead. I can't catch every City Siege. I can't catch every Keep Flip Zone Lock. I can't catch it all. So there are times where I log in and I don't really have a way to progress outside of queuing scenarios, which, for what it's worth, is fine if you queue scenarios or you do the weekend event that happens to be going on. You can get some good crest to catch up that way. But a lot of the frustration for a new player, especially some of my friends and people who do play World of Warcraft that also have played stuff like ESO and stuff like Guild Wars 2, things like that, who are used to good, meaningful PvP, they kind of get sick of getting stepped on by people who have max level gear. And I think the stopgap gear that you get from doing dungeons isn't created equal across all of the specs. And I think a lot of that, the growing pains that come from learning a game like Warhammer, definitely can be attributed to the lack of knowledge being spread around, which does come down to people like us who make the guides and who put information out there and stuff. And I try my best to keep people informed of what you should do when you twink a character, what you should do when you start a character, that sort of thing. A lot of that information isn't readily available like it is on, say, World of Warcraft or, ESO, where you can go to the forums, look up a guide, everything's, nice and tidy and neat where it needs to be. And those growing pains is what drives people away. It's not necessarily an instant gratification. Yeah, that is going to be part of it. That is unfortunately a part of modern gaming. I've touched on modern gaming for weeks at this point on my stream. And a lot of us have come to the agreement that it is the sad truth that, instant gratification being a thing definitely does have a sway in a game's presence, especially on an MMO, or an RPG for that matter. But the growing pain really does come from getting stepped on by people who have max gear and the inability for new players to get help. I think that really does augment and drive home the fact that it's hard to grow a game like this because people don't have the same time that they used to. I'm in the process of applying for a bank management job. I'm not going to have 8 hours a day to sit in a zone and farm crests, but I am going to need to get gear eventually. So then it's how long? Where's the stopgap, right? How long should I put up with getting my face punched in for hours a day in order to get the gear that I need to do the same to somebody else. The cycle just continues to repeat itself over and over again. And with a game like this, that's fine, but you're never going to get players to stick around if you don't have some sort of way to help alleviate that. And
Well,
I
one
don't have like an immediate answer for that, but I know there's been some talk about. I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, Toth.
actually the last podcast, some people put this forward, and it was interesting. Uh, an idea to close the disparity between like your Vanquisher and your Invader level gear would be to up the stats of the Vanquisher to close the gap. On top of that, you know, people honestly, people got to step up. If you don't know something, ask. I don't. It drives me crazy when I go to help people in dungeons, and they say, "Yeah, we know it," but then they clearly don't, and then they're afraid of getting kicked. I said, "I'm not going to kick you, but would you? You know, why didn't you just say something so I could explain it to you?" I'm
Right.
like, "Well, there's no nothing to view the dungeons." I said, "That's not true. On the wiki, there are dungeon guide videos to every single dungeon." Jesus, trucker. Oh boy. Guys, if you're in the chat and you just got a gift bomb from a gifted sub from a large car trucker, you need to say thank you.
Wow.
According to this, it says you did it.
Yeah, it says large car trucker is gifting 25 tier 1 subs.
Okay, then there's a gremlin in the house that's doing it. But at any rate, guys, say thank you to him, and we'll go from there.
I love seeing the support to my man, dude. That's what's up.
But I'm gonna put this out here, guys.
Mhm.
Again, I'm wanting to start a war band. Come help me save the server. I'm not asking you to come help support my channel. I'm asking you to come support the game that you guys say you care about.
If I can
You need to
swing,
learn.
if I can swing some early times, I'd be definitely be down to help with that.
Well, even if it's late time, Storm, I'm on a flexible schedule.
Okay.
Reach out to me. I'll come run with you. We'll do something. I've told people this. I don't care if I'm streaming or not. If you ask me for help, 9 times out of 10, I'll come help.
Sounds good to me.
But you guys have got to try. I mean, I can only facilitate getting it started at
Yeah.
most. I can't do it by myself.
That means I'm gonna have to play Filthy Order.
So, I mean, it is what it is. We've hit desperate times, and desperate times call for desperate measures. So, let's make it happen.
You know what I hated about high school? The cliques.
Yeah.
And I think I do believe there's a little bit of that permeates this server too. I
does.
suppose that's indicative of every MMO game, though. You know that people play together on in disc. I mean, I suppose that's indicative of all of them, but
Yeah.
it just seems more pronounced here for some reason. But anyway, I digress.
Well, we've been going. Would you believe we've been going at a little over almost 2 hours now?
Is Tosh still here, or did he drop out?
He had to drop.
He had
Oh,
to, he
okay.
had to go. We've been going for a little over 2 hours. As I've said before, I don't mind going a little bit over the time. We've covered a lot of solid ground. A lot of information's been put forward. We've discussed what I feel is at the core of what's crippling the community, and suggestions have been made. Again, let's make it happen. That's all I can say.
Well, before we take off here, well, I had a comment I wanted to make, but I don't know if it would do any good. But I do have a question for you guys.
Uh,
The earlier in the stream, you both brought up Kick,
Yeah.
and I pulled it up online. I had no until you guys said that. I had no idea it existed. That's
I've been streaming on there pretty much exclusively for the last 2 months or so. I had let Twitch kind of fall to the wayside because a lot of my subscribers have mentioned that they wanted to support the stream more and they wanted more of their money to go to me. And Kick Kick has it's got a good environment and there's been a big uptick in MMOs and watch time for MMO content. And
uh,
it's basically, from what I understand, at least someone who's been on there for quite some time, it is effectively just green Twitch.
what does that mean? Green Twitch.
It is literally Twitch with a green skin. So Kick runs through Amazon's web services, same as Twitch does. In terms of like the way subscriptions and stuff are handled on there, and categories and discoveries handled on there, it's very similar to Twitch in that way. The only real difference is you make 95% of a gift sub, or a sub in general,
Yeah.
as opposed to the 50% on Twitch.
But see, the reason I'm asking about it is because if there's anybody in here who watches my stream, you know this is true. But I'm the anachronism.
Mhm.
I'm the guy who doesn't. I don't even try to make money off of my stream because it isn't why I got into it. I got into it again to promote the game, promote the server, and just have some fun. Because I'm at a point in my life where I can just sit back and try to have a little fun. And when I first started watching Twitch, when I was building up to starting my own page, I was watching guys on Twitch, and people would have donate buttons for stuff like my dog needs a new hairdo, or my cat has been throwing up lately. I mean, and I
Oh
thought,
yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me? So I just decided that if I was going to have people watch my stream, I wasn't going to be always jacking them up for money.
Mhm.
And for those who do make money off a stream, more power to you. Really, more power to you. And I wish you all the best. So but based on all that, my question is, if I were to move to Kick, would they let me do that? Would they let me stream? Because Twitch gives me crap about it all the time. But would I
Without
be able to?
monetizing?
Yeah, without monetizing. Yeah.
So the way the affiliate process works is once you hit the affiliate status, I believe I was given it to go stream there, but it's like 75 followers and then 5 hours total watched on your channel, or 5 hours streamed on your channel. You don't have to enable affiliate on Kick. You don't have to opt into it. You can just leave it the way it is, and I don't believe they'll pester you about it either. You can just choose to stream just to stream.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
it's
look
not too
into it.
bad. Honestly, I've been streaming on there, and I plan to do a couple of multi streams with Return of Reckoning on both because I've got a pretty healthy watch base, you could say, on Kick. My streams on there have been incredible. There's been a large drive for people who've been looking for MMO content and stuff. So I definitely think branching out to a new platform could be a good idea. I know Toth was able to be the man and reach out and get them to add the category, so I definitely think it's worth at least trying, you know?
Yeah, I'm up. I think I'm up to 47 followers of 75. I'm way over on the hours and stuff.
But you can
Yeah, I would love.
you can simulcast like on Twitch
They
and Kick
they
at the
get
same
mad.
time.
In my experience with multi-streaming, I did a multi-stream recently where I streamed Overwatch. I think it was Overwatch 2. I streamed, and it was like fine. I had probably 60 viewers on Kick, and I had like 7 on Twitch because I don't really stream games like that on Twitch. It's not really my thing, and I've also been gone for about a month. And Twitch, I find, is hesitant to recommend channels that do multi-stream. That I found that if they can detect or pick up that you're multi-streaming, they will typically throttle your connection or throttle your. It was Smite. Smite is what I was playing actually. They'll typically throttle your connection or throttle your reach on Twitch. But it really didn't matter
Yeah.
because my total viewership was so high that it just didn't matter. The multi-streaming aspect was more fun because it gives people the chance to watch wherever they want to watch. You know.
Well, they don't recommend me anyway because I don't make them any money.
Yeah, true that.
But
I mean, then you've got nothing to lose at that point. Then I mean, I
yeah,
definitely think
yeah.
it'd be worth trying for sure.
Um,
like I said, there's a home over there for the ROR family, and I've reached out to. The other thing I had not told you guys is that I reached out to Max and them and told them what I had talked to the Kick people about, and inquired about them seeing if they could reach out to Kick and put it to where if any of us are streaming on Kick, it would put it up on the web page.
That would make I could definitely work some
So
strings with
that is
get some people on the
that
server in
that
that case.
yeah, it's been discussed. I went to bat for the whole community, not just the streamers, because I see it as another way to advertise the server, pull more people in. You know, it can only help. Uh, but I'm only one person.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, there's only so much I can do.
My only hesitation is, and again, perhaps you two can add something. And I'm going to be as diplomatic here as I can, but when I look back over my history on Twitch, not with Twitch itself, I fought a few battles with them until we finally worked out an agreement. But with the people who might watch the stream, when I look back over my history, the number of times people associated with a server have come in to try to take me down, for whatever reason, whatever petty reason. Once you win and survive those battles, that doesn't mean you want to have to go through them again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And
a fair point.
um, and cranking up on a new platform, because I mean, when I started out, I was a little naive, which has always been a characteristic of mine throughout my life. Is I've always been a little naive and accepting of people at face value. So it did not occur to me that just because I started up a Twitch stream, that people would come in and start trying to post porn links in my, Twitch chat, or follow and then start, you know, causing all, making all kinds of rude comments and stuff. I
Yeah.
was just flabbergasted, man. I thought, and so it was a learning curve. And then the people who reported me to Twitch, uh, trying to get the page shut down and stuff like that. I mean, Tiger, have you experienced any of that?
Honestly,
Wherever,
like my growth on Twitch has been I like to think I'm probably one of the most non-controversial streamers to ever grace the platform, and I say that not to toot my own horn, but because I've honestly never had anything like that happen ever. Not on Kick, not on Twitch, nowhere. Really. I got hate rated by a guy who was spamming obscenities in my Discord that was immediately banned and taken care of because I was playing Warzone, and he kept dropping on me, and I kept killing him over and over again, and he got mad, and I guess he got his little goon squad to try to hate raid my Discord, and that just did not work because we have really good moderation. But other than that, I've never, I can safely say I've really just never had anything like that happen.
I can answer that question that Tosh just put forward. He's concerned about, will Kick get bought out by Amazon like they've done with other competitors to Twitch? The only reason I say I don't think that's going to happen is the fact that the other company, the main company that's currently supplying Kick,
Hmm.
is a massive gambling company.
Yeah, they operate outside of the confines of your
Yeah,
typical.
they
Yeah.
they operate well outside the normal parameters. So there's very little Amazon could do to bring pressure against them. There's no
Plus,
way for Amazon to get directly at them.
and one thing too, a lot of people who are embedded into Twitch are quick to point out that Kick is there just for people to make a quick buck and stuff too. Don't forget, Kick was profitable, something that Amazon claimed that it was not. Kick has been profitable for its first quarter, even with the huge influx of streamers that have happened over the last 4 months. I think it's been that I've total been on Kick. I didn't really stream there at first, but because I was just kind of like keeping an eye on it. But they were profitable, even with the sub split, even with all of the stuff that's been going on with it. They were profitable. They came out and said, "Yep, our earnings quarters came out. Here you go." They're fully transparent about it. Investors were talking about it, even with renting the services from Amazon, they were able to continue to make money, and not a small amount of money either. The influx of streamers and views and stuff have definitely contributed to that. And one of the main CEOs, Eddie, who runs Stake, which is the company that backs Kick, mentioned that he said he's only responsible for about maybe 100K worth of the overall revenue that the company made, compared to the millions that it had produced over the quarter. So I think Kick's got some staying power. I think if they, it's gonna come down to management, right? Same as
Mm-hmm.
Switch, same as everything else. How they manage, how they handle things going forward. The next few months is really this first year is gonna determine where it ends up, right?
Yep.
People are very quick to like harken back to the days of Mixer. Mixer was basically the Wild West. Mixer had so much random, just incredibly strange and obscene things I've never seen on a streaming platform go live, and they did this because there was no real active moderation. So far, Kick to me has shown that they're willing to take a more hands-on approach with individual creators and problematic creators and kind of handle things in a certain way. And I mean, yes, the same as Twitch, right? If you make millions of dollars in a stream, if you're an Aiden Ross or a Trainwreck or something, you do something dumb, or like a Hassan, you do something dumb on stream, you're probably gonna get a slap on the wrist compared to somebody who doesn't make $1 million. It's the same. It's effectively the same on both platforms. But I do think there's a lot of good that can come from Kick for sure. I think just with the new reach and how it's been garnering so much attention and stuff too. I think for a game like Return of Reckoning, there definitely uh, could be some nice stuff that comes out of it for sure in terms
Yeah.
of like viewership and activity.
Most definitely. But I'm not going to drag this out too much
Yeah.
longer because I do have some stuff I need to do. Guys, anybody in chat have any closing questions or remarks for Tiger or for Karis or myself? Now's the time to post them. And if I don't see anything, then I'll go ahead and wrap stuff up. And again, I will post this on my YouTube. I will also send it to the devs, same as I've done the others. So everything that's been discussed here, they'll know about. Again, the whole idea is to have an avenue where you guys in the community can talk to the devs. And they do come on the show. So,
Yeah. My final comment is first. I think this has been a good discussion all around. This is one of the better episodes that we've done. And but the second thing is when you talk about dev interaction, uh, I wish I got a little bit more support on Realm Watch, and I wish there were other people, right? Other people with quotation marks, I suppose, that promoted the stream besides me. I mean, Realm Watch is the official Return of Reckoning Twitch podcast or broadcast, right?
yeah.
And yesterday I had, up until the server started crashing and people were coming in just to see what was going on, uh, I had, I think at most I had 34 people watching, was the high number, until it doubled when people were coming in just to see what was wrong with the server. But 34 people, the thing needs to be promoted more. It needs to be supported more. And it sort of goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about at other
Hmm.
moments of today's podcast, is that, Realm Watch is a good vehicle. Realm Watch is a good vehicle to promote the game. But if you don't promote Realm Watch to get more people to watch it and participate, then it kind of fails at its purpose of promoting the game. So I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to attack anybody. I'm just saying that as a matter of simple logic, if you want to promote the game, you have to promote the thing that promotes the game as well, right? So I wish there was a bit more uh, push
Support.
on that, but yeah, on that particular topic, because I enjoy doing it. I have a blast. I
Yeah.
really do. I enjoy doing it, but we need more people to watch.
That's
But
very,
other than
very
that,
true.
yeah. But other than that, Toth, this has been a good deal. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Always a pleasure having you on the show. I want to thank everybody out in the community for attending. For those of you that spoke your piece, I salute you for standing up and saying what you said. Again, I put the call out to the community. If we don't take a stand now, we're gonna watch what we all care about die. So keep that in mind. Whatever decision you make ultimately, just know that that is the most likely outcome in the long run. It may take it a long time to do it, but it'll get there. Again, I want to thank Tiger and all his people coming over. Had fun with it. Tiger, you're welcome on the show anytime. So is anyone else that's from the RoR community. Guys, it's an open door invite. And as Karish just said, please, please, please go toss a follow to the Return of Reckoning Twitch channel. It is the official sanctioned channel by the devs. Show some support. It's another avenue for you guys to share your thoughts, because trust me, the devs do pay attention to it.
They are listening.
So there's ways for you guys to have your voices heard, but you've got to take up the gauntlet and actually speak up. You can't just say it in my stream or during my podcast and then go back to the shadows.
As I keep one quick thing. I mean, as I keep saying, I say this every week, and I put it in Discord and on my whatever. Realm Watch is not about me. I think there's some people that may look at it that way, but Realm Watch is not about me. Realm Watch is about the community, right? And that's the whole point. That's the way I approach it. Realm Watch is about the players. And so I'll use the same line you did earlier. Help. I'm there to help the community. So help me, help you. Show me the money. That's an old movie reference. Sorry, but anyway, yeah. But help me, help you. Right. So
Yeah.
all right. I'll shut up now. Thanks, Todd.
No worries, man. Like I said, I appreciate it. And guys, again, thank you. Again, I will be posting the podcast section of this VOD on my YouTube with some comments. I'll put notations in there that Karis, Tosh, and Storm Rage were all in the mix. Guys, as I said, I stream over on Kick, so does Storm Rage, so any support you could offer would be helpful. Even if it's just to throw a follow, even if you decide you're not really interested in tuning in over there, it would still be greatly appreciated, because it helps us spread the word on the server. Yeah, it helps us as streamers, but it also helps spread the word on the server, because that's partly why I went over there. A couple of newer guys in the community actually started streaming over there, Anderline being one of them. And I've tried to help support him over there, but until the powers that be here can get worked out with Kick to where where Kick streamers can be on the web page, it may be a little bit.
Oh, I'm so ready for that, dude.
But it is something that I talked to the powers that be about, and I'm gonna try and have a meeting with Max if I can arrange it and see if we can't expedite something. I can't promise anything, but I will certainly try. That's all I can tell you. But again, thank you all for being here. I will catch you gents on the flip side. Later. Alright, chat. Let me turn some stuff back on here. And again, thank you to Trucker, even though he says he didn't do it, and I know he did, because it is what Stream Elements is saying. Appreciate the gift bomb sub that you just hit me with. That will go a long way towards helping with some stuff that I've been combating. But I think I'm going to try and jump into I'll try and jump into some PvP after City is over, because I missed the City queue. But it was more important to me to, see this through. and it's been fun overall, gang. So, that being said, I do want to check one thing out. Oh, come on. Twitch is being twitchy. Just seeing who all's on. There's quite a few people on, gang. But that's enough of that. I'm gonna switch back over to the Slayer and see what I can get into. Let me undo some settings because I had to change things around. And you still got about 16 minutes left on the next Stream Raider battle, guys. Speak of the devil, there's the powers that be over at Formosa. Guys, if you don't know Hello GG, you need to go check him out. Smash the follow button, pay it forward, you won't be disappointed. Appreciate the raid, GG. Type that out to where he can get it translated, because he does not speak solid English except in small words. But everybody understands the language of RoR. He's a good guy. And just to go ahead and put this out here, guys, the next podcast will be on the 10th of June. I'll go ahead and put the flyer up for it, and it'll be running next weekend. June 3rd is my Twitch anniversary, 4 years on Twitch. I invite you all to be here. I'm going to try and make it a 12-hour stream if I can swing it. I am also going to try and do a subathon. I've got to work out some details, so keep your eyeballs on my Twitter feed, because that's usually how I post things. And I'll try to put out messages in my Discord and other places that I normally post things at. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully you'll join me for the festivities. Now, let's see what I can go get into. Looks like Chaos Waste. Back to the game, as it were. Hopefully it's still some decent fighting and it doesn't die down too much. Or hasn't died down too much, because usually, as we all know, usually about this time the server starts to really slow down. And thanks to my sponsor at show.gg, that is who is running these ads, check out Learning a New Language by Watching TV with LingoPie. And as some of you may or may not know, I am also an ambassador with show.gg. That's right, I got promoted to ambassador. And as well with Freshen Up, with that ad there, guys, if you're looking for a good energy drink that is zero sugar, low carbs, low calorie, check out Freshen Up energy drink. They do support the troops, so keep that in mind. So any help there, at least in regards of if you decide to purchase some, know that it does go to helping support the troops. Same with Blackout Coffee. You'll see that ad run sometimes. You also see their icon up in the top right of the corner. I am sponsored by them as well. They also support the troops. I believe a portion of every dollar that's spent on a purchase goes to sending a care package to a random soldier. So pay it forward, gang. And being it is the Memorial Day weekend, salute your veterans, say thank you, acknowledge the blood, sweat, and tears that many of them have spilled, allowing those of us that don't wear the uniform to be able to do the things we do. We owe them that much. Let me see what we got going here. Dream, let me see if I can find a group. There might not be a group to try. No, I don't want it to say. And on a personal note, I do want to thank each and every one of you out there in the community, whether you're from Europe, Asia, wherever you're at in the world. It does mean a lot that you guys choose to spend your time here, because it's the one thing you can't get back is the time that you spend. And I'm very mindful of that fact, and I appreciate you guys just hanging out. I'm never going to ask you to do subs or anything else. I appreciate it, but it's my main driving force is I just like to chat at people. I know at times I might sound a little crass. Trust me, I'm not trying to be. I'm very monotone with my voice. Trucker who's known me for a couple of years, it's been an endless parade of me trying to be careful of how I talk to people, because I am extremely mindful of the fact of how I sound. But as I said during the podcast, I'm also very blunt. Hey, trucker. I'm gonna die anyway on this one. I don't see a way out of this because I'm by myself. Yeah. I also do admin work on Trucker's server, which if you guys see the Dead Scientist Society ad in the channel, it's a Rust server for any of you that like to play first-person shooters. It's a survival game. It is a PvE predominant server, but we do have PvP on it, and there is like a 48-hour purge window at the end of each month. I handle the custom building for raid base events. A couple of months back, I did a Normandy D-Day invasion, which was a big hit for the server, where the entire server turned out, and it took them, Trevor, like 3+ hours to battle their way through the defenses and actually take the objective of securing the island. So I made it in such a way that it wouldn't be so difficult they couldn't do it, but it would rely heavily on them working together. Because a solo person was not going to be able to deal with that on any level. Come on, guys. There's enough of us here. You gotta fight. And I'm by myself. Okay, their healers in. That's range. There we go. Kill him. And yeah. Order literally backed up into the corner and stood there and died. Wow. Simply wow is all I can say on that one.
Our goddess has spoken to me. She who prepares the hearth, who secures our homes. You know who I am.
Well, I'm not getting any answer at all from anyone out in the lakes. So, I think with that, guys, I am going to wrap things up so I can have some time to do some video compression stuff, download the pod, do all the editing and stuff, get it condensed and get it set up. I've got a raid target for us. They actually just went live. Somebody in the RoR community, so you can see things from another perspective. So stick with me while I set that raid up, and we'll get on over to them, and you guys hopefully enjoy the rest of your weekend. Let's go pay Mr. Gravor a visit, guys.